Hey guys, Chris here. In this video, I'm gonna do a very quick review of the new Tesla Model 3 long-range dual motor, the facelifted version, Highland, whatever you wanna call it. This going back to Tesla today. I only had it for like 3.5 days, 4 days, so I just have time for a very short review, and also the weather is pretty terrible. So let's hop into the car. Let me just, talk a little bit about the new aspects about this car, and let's take it out on the road, and I'll talk about my experience the past few days. Safety starts with the tire. Tires are the only thing keeping your car on the road and is therefore the most important component of your car. After studless winter tires have become more and more popular in recent years, many drivers are slow to change back to summer tires for the warmer months. Though studless winter tires are great when it's cold, they can be very dangerous as temperatures rises. The tire pattern wears quickly and braking distances increases immensely for winter tires and temperatures above 7 degrees Celsius. On wet surfaces, when the temperature rises above 20 degrees Celsius, studless winter tires are dangerous and offer very low levels of grip and very long braking distances. This has to do with the softer compound of the tire as it's made to perform in cold conditions. Thus, winter tires get too soft during the summer. This is why safety starts with the tire, and Continental recommends you to always change to the correct tire for the season. Stay safe for the summer season and find the correct Continental tire for your car in the link down below. The Tesla Model 3 came out in 2017, so almost 7 years ago now, which is pretty insane. And it quickly became Tesla's best-selling car. It quickly became the world's best-selling electric vehicle, and then it became the world's best-selling car at times. I'm not sure if it is currently, but I think last year it was the best-selling car in the world, which is pretty insane. So this is a very important vehicle for Tesla. So on the interior, we have a new steering wheel, we have a new top dashboard design, we have new door design, new seats, and there's like an HVAC screen for the rear. Other than that, it's pretty much unchanged. And on the exterior, we have a new front end, a new rear end, and also a few new wheel options. But other than that, it is, the same vehicle as before. On the interior, there are a few changes, like a new steering wheel design, which I really do like. I think the steering wheel looks really nice, but like with the Tesla Model S, they've removed the stalks, so you have no indicator stalks, and also the stalk for your gear selector, and activating autopilot or cruise control is also now on the steering wheel instead. We're going to talk about that once we get out on the road. And also, to put the car into drive now, you have to swipe up on an icon here, a car icon, and then you just go like before. So because they've removed the stocks, and this is a Tesla, there are basically not a lot of buttons. I don't think it has the best ergonomics. I talked about this earlier, like buttons and stocks, and also having separate screens like a driver display and also a separate infotainment screen is beneficial because it just makes the experience, in my opinion, better, easier, more intuitive, and just more pleasurable. But this is as before, like in the Tesla Model 3, everything is in this screen, like pre-facelift. Now we only have the buttons here, and it's not the most intuitive to use. If you've been driving, cars for more than 20 years like me, you're just programmed. Your muscle memory is having a stock here that you can just use up and down. And for the most part, outside of the city, while you're on the open road or on the motorway, it's actually pretty nice to have it here. I don't mind it, but it's when you're driving in a city and you're doing a lot of, steering wheel movements, you're like going right and left, and also speed limit warning, I just want to talk about that, is deactivated via an icon next to it, like an audio icon, like a sound icon. Is really smart. I really like that. What was I saying? In the city, especially here in Europe, here in Norway, where we have a lot of roundabouts, you want to indicate into the roundabout and also out of the roundabout, and that just can get very confusing. After a few days, I have gotten used to it, but you have to stop, you have to think, and it's not as easy as having stocks. I hope that there's going to be some kind of, like in the EU here, where we're going to have some mandatory laws for having stocks, because I just think it works better, it's safer. So other than that, the experience of the interior is pretty much the same, but the level of quality is much higher than before. I think this is a really nice interior for this price point. Like soft touch materials everywhere. This faux leather that Tesla uses, one of the nicest in the business, though a lot of the competition has caught up and surpassed Tesla. This is still really nice. But the biggest difference with this car, what I really like about this car, is the improved ride and also sound insulation. So I was never a fan of how the old Tesla Model 3 drove. Yes, it was darty, it was like responsive, but the trade-off was like really short suspension travel. Not necessarily stiff suspension, but just undersprung, and it never settled. It was just bouncy, and you could feel all the bumps through the wheels, through the suspension. It wasn't very refined. They've dialed down, the sportiness, quote unquote, made it less stiff, given it a little bit more suspension travel, and just more compliant. It's still much stiffer than I would prefer. I just don't see the point of having it this stiff because, we have other cars that are softer, which are as sporting. So I don't think it's a necessary trade-off. I just think, Tesla is a very young company in the car business. They don't have the same expertise. They don't have the same experience. They don't have the same, decades of fine-tuning suspension as other brands. And that is apparent with the suspension tuning in this, the Model Y, the Model S, the Model X, and all their other vehicles. But they've also made it a lot more quiet. The old car was also always very noisy, especially on the motorway. You're going to still have road noise and tire noise on the motorway, more than I would like, but it's pretty much improved a lot. But you're going to especially notice the quieter ride here in the suburbs or in the city. At speeds below 100 kilometers an hour, I think this is noticeably quieter than the old Tesla Model 3. So, they've improved a lot of things that I didn't like. The ride, the noise levels is just a much nicer car to drive. And it's also much more relaxed. I don't think the steering is nearly as darty or as quick as the old car. And that's a nice thing because it was just, not very relaxing to drive. It was always on its toes, and now it's nice. Though the steering weights up a little bit weirdly, especially when you try to go drive sporty, and that's why it's not necessarily sporty, this car. Yeah, it's fast. It has 500 horsepower, does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.4 seconds, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's sporty. It's just fast, and the suspension is buttoned down for that type of driving. But the steering isn't necessarily sporty, though the ratio is quite quick. It weighs up weirdly in corners. It just goes really light when you load up the wheels, which is the opposite of what you want and what's natural. But other than that, I think the steering, like in normal driving, is pretty decent. But when you start pushing this car, it's not necessarily that nice to drive. But the steering is a lot nicer than what you find in Kias, which is just really weirdly weighted and calibrated. There are a lot of things to like about this new updated Tesla Model 3. Overall, it is an improved product, and the few days I've had this car, I haven't been as annoyed or as frustrated as I have been with other Tesla Model 3s. I really like, the updated styling. I think it's gone from being an okay looking car to being very attractive, especially the rear end is really nice, and also the front. The interior is also much improved. I really like this steering wheel. It's just of high quality, and also this, synthetic leather that Tesla uses is really nice. Also, the car is competitively priced. I mean, the car equipped this way with winter wheels, 18-inch wheels, this gray paint color, enhanced autopilot is 500,000 kroners on the road. An equivalent Polestar 2 is going to be about 100,000 kroners or 10,000 euros more. So I think it is extremely competitively priced, and for that you're getting great performance, you're getting great range, 629 kilometers of WLTP rated range. Also, this car did amazing in my range test, so go check that video out. I will link it in the description box down below. So if you're just looking for a car as an appliance, just want something that works. You also have, access to the supercharger network for a lot of people in a lot of countries. That's going to be vital for, transitioning into an electric car or just wanting an electric car. Here in Norway, it isn't that big of a deal. But, overall, it is a really nice product, though it has a few things that for me personally is just super annoying. This lack of a stock here I don't like that. Also, these seats not the most comfortable for me, and you know, even though it's gotten a really nice update in its styling in on the exterior and the interior, I think it's just a little bit, you know, soulless. It's just a little bit boring for me. But the big thing for me is just the way autopilot works with this car, just changing lanes and how it bings and bongs at everything. I just find that super annoying, and there's still a lot of problems with phantom braking. I've experienced that more than I would like. It's just really scary to use this car sometimes with just slams on the brakes. And also, I know a lot of people like this, you know, tablet screen, everything in one screen. It looks futuristic, you know, the interface is pretty, but it's frustrating to use a lot of times because the icons are like super small. I don't understand why the HVAC controls are so small. You have this faint arrow next to, you know, the temperature where you have to hit it precisely. If you just, you know, miss it a little bit, it doesn't work. I don't understand when there's so much real estate here why they can just have a big plus and minus. While driving, like it's and the suspension is still a little bit, you know, firm. It's not always easy to hit the icons. So everything in the screen still not my favorite. I do prefer having a screen here. You know, I prefer still the layout in the Polestar 2, which I'm going to have on loan next week, where you have physical buttons. So for me, this isn't the car for me, but more than ever, if I were to buy a car at this price point, this is a car I could live with, and absolutely a car I could still recommend. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.